Hello and welcome. I am Professor QA, and in this video we are going to be giving a tutorial of loader.io. Loader.io is going to be we are going to be using that to do some performance testing, specifically load testing. If you enjoy this video, be sure to check me out on Instagram and Facebook. Each of those you can do a search for at professor.qa, and you'll see a lot of other videos and tutorials just like this one here to learn and enhance your skills as a software quality assurance testing professional. Okay, in this video, it does assume you have performed some API testing in your past. You know how to send data to an API endpoint. You know what the expected results are. If you're not familiar with how to do that, I recommend that you go check out my Instagram or the Facebook, look at some beginning tutorials on the API endpoints, and maybe check out some of the tutorials on software architecture and software design, and understand how API endpoints are used in the development of software. That'll make this video a lot more useful, and you'll understand the video a lot better. Okay, so with that, let's check out our first thing here. Let's do a quick review of performance testing. There are three types of performance testing that are really common. There is load testing, stress testing, and volume testing. Those are the three types of performance testing that are really common in the quality assurance realm. Load testing is testing against known metrics. So that would be saying we are expecting this piece of software or this API endpoint to be able to have a load of 50 users per second, and the responses should be returned in less than 1 second. So 50 users per second, and the responses should return in less than 1 second. That would be a very common load test. There are some metrics, and you test whether or not the software meets those metrics. Stress testing is pushing the application all the way to its limits. So your expected load would be 50 requests per second. In a stress test, you would actually push past that 50 limit and see where the application begins to break and no longer meets those expectations of returning a result in 1 second. So you would go 50, and then you would 70, 75, 100, and then maybe past 100 is where it no longer meets those requirements of returning a result in less than 1 second. That would be a stress test. You would see how many requests you can send before it no longer meets those expectations. Okay, and then volume testing is testing under a great deal of data load. So maybe you performed all of these tests with just a few thousand records in the database. Now let's see how it performs if we put in a few million records in the database. How does the application perform with that amount of data? So that is your volume testing. Those are the three types of testing that are commonly performed. Okay, so with that understanding, we are going to be doing load testing today, and we're going to be using loader.io to do those tests. Let's head over to loader.io and start checking this out. All right, so let's check out our loader.io tool here. First thing you will notice is this is not a piece of software that is installed on my computer. Loader.io is a website, and you just log into the website and you use all of their tools online. It's not really necessary to download anything on your machine to run loader.io. All right, second thing you will notice once we get logged in is we need to tell it what websites or what domains, URLs, whatever you want to call them, where are we going to send some of these requests. And on the free plan, this is a completely free plan, you don't have to pay for the tool, you are allowed to target one domain name. If I would need to add more, I would upgrade to their pro plan like you see here. And the next step that you need to do is you will need to verify that you are the owner, or at least have permission to send tests to this domain name. That helps prevent individuals from misusing the tool and getting really mad at some company and then sending a bunch of load tests to their website and causing issues for that company. All right, the verification is super easy. You can just follow the step-by-steps. We're not going to go through that in this tutorial. It's really completely easy, and just follow the steps that loader.io presents for you. Okay, in this next step, we're going to browse our tests. All right, so here we've clicked through on our tests, and we are going to take a look at the test. For this demo, I have one test already created so that we can see some of the options once your test is done. First, you can rerun it. So you can run this test as many times as you like and just keep running it over and over again. Next, you can set it up to run on a schedule. Oftentimes you may want to run your load tests on a weekly basis or maybe on a daily basis. You have several changes that you're making consistently, so you can schedule it to run automatically. Next, you can edit, you can change the parameters of your tests. You can copy if you were going to make one that is very similar, and it makes it much easier to configure your test so you're not starting over from scratch. And this last option is to archive. If you don't think you're going to use this test anymore, but you do want to save some of the results or maybe use it as a reference later, you can archive it. All right, so now that we have that, let's go ahead and create a brand new test. First step is just put in a relatively easy name. So here I will go with my naming convention and I will call this number 2. Next, we'll be choosing a test type. Loader.io gives you 3 options to choose from. There's the number of clients per test, number of clients per second, and maintaining client load. Here we'll explore all 3 of these real quick. We'll go number of clients per test, and that is evenly distributing all of the clients over the course of your duration. So if I were to change this to 60 clients over the course of 1 minute, every second it's going to send a new request to my API endpoint. So it'll distribute those evenly across the board. Next is number of clients per second. This is a fairly common one. Oftentimes in your requirements for load testing, they will say this needs to be able to accept 50 requests per second and return the response in less than 1 second. So this is a very common one to choose from. So here, if I were to leave this at 60, every second it's going to send 60 requests to my API endpoint, and it's going to do that for 1 minute. The second one here is maintaining client load. This is another one that's really common because it does simulate a relatively real-world example. And you can say, all right, instead of 60 per second, I would like it to vary between 40 clients to 70 clients over the course of 1 minute. So instead of 60 every second, it's going to randomly pick a number between 40 and 70 and submit that over the course of 1 minute. All right, so that's how these 3 work. For this example, we are going to just choose clients per test. It's relatively easy to do. And we're going to say, we're going to choose a relatively low number here, and we're going to say send, not 15, that's 60 clients over the course of 1 minute. And next, you'll see we have our hosts here. We only have one to choose from. These are the domain names that we used earlier in this target hosts. And we're going to do a post. So we're going to send data to our API endpoint, and we're going to choose this endpoint here. Next, we're going to add in our headers, and the 2 that we want to choose from are content type and accept. Your developers should be able to tell you exactly what headers you need to add in order for the API endpoint to work, and what to submit for our values here. And the next step is we need to put in our parameters or our request body. For us, we want to choose a raw body, and we're going to submit JSON to our API endpoint. And we have that saved here. We're going to copy and paste it in. All right, let's paste our value in there. So this is the body that we are going to send. Since we submitted a post, it opened up this parameters and request body for us, and we can post in a body to send. You'll notice that in this example, all 60 over the course of the 1 minute are going to send this exact same body to it. If you need to put in variables, or maybe you want to change the body up, you want to say first name Benjamin, last name test, and then first name Benjamin, last name test 2. If you want to change that request body up on each request, you can do that. You'll just use this option here for this payload file URL, and it'll allow you to send a different body every single time. That is fairly common to do that. We're not going to go over it in this example, but you can check that out and learn how to do that. Okay, in this example, that is all we're going to do. We don't need any response variables here, so we're going to leave that blank, and we are good to run our test. All right, once we run it, you'll notice that you see in real time here on loader.io, you can see in real time how the test is performing. So you can see it's already starting to send those requests and get responses back. We will let this run over the course of the 1 minute, and then we're going to view our results. Okay, so you'll see that our test is now completed. Now we have 2 tests on the board, and this is the one that we just created, so let's view our results. All right, so here are the results. You can see here are the times that it took to respond, and the green line here are the number of clients that per second that was active. And the average response time was 64 milliseconds. So if our requirements were to send 60 requests over the course of 1 minute and return a response in less than 1 second, we would have succeeded there. The next would be making sure that our responses were correct, that we were not getting errors as we were sending this through. And you can see all 60 were successful. They returned 200s or 201s are the successes here. It was not 400s or 500s. So we want to look at the responses and kind of get a little more detail here. You'll notice that there were not any network errors, there were not timeouts, 500s or 400s. All the responses were successful. So this would be a successful test. Now let's change up our configuration a little bit and say that our website is getting busier. Now we need to be able to support a lot larger volume. So let's go with, let's pick a number, 300 over the course of 1 minute. And is our website still successful? Are we still able to get all successful responses? So we just change up the number there and run our test again. And again, you'll see that the test is able to complete in real time. You're able to view the results in real time. So we're going to let this run over the course of 1 minute, and we'll come back and check out the results. Okay, so our test has now finished up. Let's browse through and see the results. So you can see here that it has been ran twice. That was the test we just created, and we ran it twice. I'm going to click through and see our results. And here you can see pretty quickly that this was definitely not a successful test. Right here it tells you the test did not even run for the full minute because it reached the number of errors, the error threshold that it has. So the average response time was successful. It did complete in under 1 second like our requirements asked us to. But out of the requests that were sent, 37 of them were successful, and it already reached 38 errors. So there's about a 50% error rate there. So the test is not successful. And here we want to click through and see what were those errors so that we can report them to our development team. And we'll look at our details here. And now you can see there are a lot of colors here to look at. So we have some successes. There are some green here, but there's also a lot of this orange color. So there were a lot of 500 errors that were returned. And here you can also see that the errors were indeed the 500 errors is what we were seeing. So this does not meet our requirements of 300 clients over the course of 1 minute, 300 requests per minute. So we would submit some bugs and have the development team update the website so that we are able to support a better load. All right, so let's click back through into our tests here. And that is how you set up a load test in loader.io using some of the basic functionality of this completely free tool. It's free to use. Most companies, I would say, might upgrade to the Pro plan so they get access to a few more features, and definitely you oftentimes have more than one domain name that you're going to be sending load tests to. But whether you're using the free tool or the paid version, all the functionality works the same way. Well, if you got some good value from this video, if you did, be sure to check us out on our social media. Just do a search for @professor.qa, and you can find our Instagram and also our free Facebook discussion group. In our Facebook discussion group, you can collaborate with other QA professionals and students of our courses. You can ask questions to the group, and we will get together and answer those questions for you. Also on our Facebook discussion group, frequently you can ask for new tutorials. If you have a skill set in mind or a particular piece of software that you would like to see demonstrated, ask it on our Facebook discussion group, and we'll be able to create a tutorial for you. Thanks for following, and we look forward to seeing you again.